Azad, and this is Coffee Connection with your host Aisha. And it is time for our Monday mental health segment. And we have Saihba Ali in the studios with us. We're talking about a very important and very sensitive issue, and that is the role of parents in the whole spouse selection process. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum assalam, Aisha. I'm good. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
So happy to have you today, Saihba Ali. Sahiba is a licensed professional counselor, licensed marriage and family therapist. She has over a decade of experience and she does workshops on different topics जैसे कि communication between teens and parents, the blended family workshops, a workshop for empty nesters, a women's wellness group as well. And if you want a particular workshop on a particular topic, get your friends together and contact her, and she can actually do a workshop specifically for your group, whether it is a group at a place of worship or a social group or whatever. This is a great service to the community and something that we all need, because we struggle with these issues silently, and then we get into a lot of things like anxiety and depression, and lose a lot of our relationships along the way. Seba's phone number 469-443-6773, and you can also check out her website saibaalitherapy.com and her Instagram handle at Kame Hearts of Texas.
Thank you, Aisha.
All right. So, Seba, such an important issue, such a
Indeed.
sensitive issue. We have seen so many so many issues, not only amongst the two families, but even getting to that point
Mhm.
where one family is in turmoil. The potential bride or groom is just having it out with their parents, and
Yeah.
that lack of communication is just not there. So I know you're going to talk a lot about that, but let's, before we even start that, what areas should individuals be clear on
Mhm.
before seeking a life partner? Even, just thinking about the whole marriage process. जैसे finances हो गए या religious identity हो गई, long term goals. So why is it important for the potential groom or bride to know themselves and define their core values?
That's an excellent question, Aisha. The thing is, let's think about marriage and partnership as a puzzle. Let's think about it as a puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, if you are looking for a life partner that fits you, your puzzle that fits together with you want to make sure that you are, first of all, complete in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are in the molding state, if you're in a stage where you are, you're just flowing right now, you don't have a form for your own self,
Mm-hmm.
then any piece of the other puzzle that you are going to confirm with, that's not eventually going to fit you because you're changing. So you want to make sure, first of all, that you have clarity on who you are.
Mm-hmm.
What is your identity? What's your goals in life, in marriage? What are your financial goals?
Mm-hmm.
What have you learned from your parents' generation? What's the influence? What do you want to carry forth in your marriage? What do you want to leave behind in your marriage? So, the key to finding a successful partner, I know it's going to sound tacky, but it's finding yourself first,
Mm.
getting to know yourself, not just in context of how do I feel like today, because I think everyone can relate to it, that if you think about who Aisha was at age 17 and then who Aisha was at age 25, it's going to be very, very different.
Very different, yeah.
So and when I say age, I don't necessarily mean age as in biological age.
Mm-hmm.
It's also your emotional and mental age, because that differs. Sometimes you can find a 17-year-old man or
Yes.
a 25-year-old teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So it basically also means that how mature have you do you feel like you have become,
Mm-hmm.
to some extent, who you want to be? Do you have your core beliefs set in? Do you have a core idea of what you're wanting your life to look like. And if that is the case, then you go find someone or discuss or think about, okay, who fits into this idea? Who do I look for that complements my goals in life as a
Mhm.
spouse? That's the key. So I think the first step is in figuring out who you are.
And how does one go about doing that?
Right. So again, a good question. In that, I think one of the things that young people really need to also value is their parents' input on it,
Hmm.
because that's one aspect of it. Your parents have known you since before you knew how to hide who you were.
Hmm.
So they've known your organic self. Like, I'm surrounded by, mashallah, a lot of nieces, nephews, and their children. And I see, children, babies as young as 9 months old, 2 years old, 4 years old. They are, displaying their organic, from the same household, they have their different temperaments. They are in their organic self. One baby is handing over their toy to another. Another's taking that toy and giving it to somebody else.
Hmm.
Another's walking away. Someone's going complaining to their parents. Someone's playing with something else. Those are personality traits that are very organic to your core personality. And your parents are aware of that. They've seen you grow. They've seen you change over the years, but they know what your key aspects are. Maybe you
Right.
have an example of what you've seen in your children in different capacities, even
Hmm.
though they have the same environment they're growing up in. So
Absolutely.
that feedback, that input, just listen to them when they talk to you about you. Ask them, like, who do you think? Ask their opinion. Ask them to do like a character, basically, assessment. Like, who do you think? How do I act to stress? How do you see me reacting to happy news?
Mm.
What do you think I value more? Do I like expensive things more? Do I value experiences more? Check in with them, because they've really known you way before you have started conforming to your peer groups or something else.
Hmm.
And that core personality that gets formed before you're even 5 years old, that's something that your parents and aunts and uncles have seen.
That you bring up such an excellent point. The problem that I have observed is that open communication
Hmm.
is a must for this
Absolutely.
kind of trust between the parents and the kids. Often I've seen the kids complain, oh, we can't be open with our parents. Our
Hmm.
parents would never go for, you would never accept this in me, X,
Hmm.
Y, and Z
Yeah.
in me, or we can't have this conversation with my parents. They would just get upset, you
Right.
know. So, what are some of the most common tensions that you see between the youth and the parents when it comes to this situation of choosing a spouse?
I think some of the, yeah, and I'll eventually, when we get a little bit more into the program, let's work with the actual example of a
Okay.
situation, because the thing is that these situations are so subjective and unique to each individual family
Right.
that there is no one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things that are very standard, which is like communication skills, which
Mm-hmm.
is how you speak with each other, which also comes from a religion where when your child is, hits puberty and they're grown up, you speak to them on a friendly level. You speak to them on, treat them like an adult, and you have those conversations. There's no talking down to them. There is giving importance to what they're saying and reflecting both ways, because if you shut down that venue, then they're unlikely to take advice from you.
Yeah.
For communication to be, for them to accept influence from parents, it's important for the children to feel heard by the parents.
Hmm.
So if they don't feel heard, if they feel like their parents are going to sit them down and lecture them about one thing or the other, which they've already almost heard many times, they're less likely to sit down and, have a conversation with you. But if they think that parents are accepting and receptive to their ideas about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
then there is room for discussions. But the conflicts that I have seen mostly in our communities, and I mean South Asian communities, Middle Eastern communities, is one, the first generation immigrant parents and the children that are born here.
Mm-hmm.
And so the cultural aspects of our back home kind of a concept,
Mhm.
and the acculturation factor here, the assimilation factor here, because then they have their own culture here where they're adapting to their environment. So there is disparity in that.
Mhm.
So that adjustment happens in, that adjustment is a hurdle between the parents and the children seeing eye to eye. And within that, you'll find gender role disparities, because gender roles are more defined or defined in a different manner
Mhm.
back home than here. And so when seeking a spouse, that comes into play. Extended family, how how you manage the extended family part, like what are your obligations, expectations, what are the cultural norms, how do you navigate that? That is another aspect of it. Education, I think, is not that big of an issue, but when it comes to gender roles, it comes to about um, the wife's career.
Mhm.
What happens to rearing children,
Mhm.
parenting of their grandchildren, basically.
Okay.
What are the norms that they would prefer? The concept of dropping off your child at daycare and the opposition to that, and
Mhm.
things like that.
Mhm.
So those also come into play. Being basically a traditional family where husband has the provider role, and generally the wife is staying at home with the children, versus a two income family, or both of them being professionals. Those kind of disparities, those kind of communications. But that, like I said, it's subjective. Maybe
Hmm.
it's first generation immigrants, but they grew up in a household where both parents are working. So it's individual to individual.
Mhm.
But these are some of the aspects. The other thing that I see them struggling with is the timeline.
Okay.
So the parents tend to want to wrap everything up. Okay, how many
Mhm.
times do you want to meet this
Meet.
person before you make a decision?
Mhm.
And the youth want to be like, wait, no, we need to speak some more. We need to talk some more before we can make the decision.
Mhm.
So there is that shove and pull, because the parents are trying to push to get things done if things look fine, and the children are resisting going forward soon.
What's an ideal timeline for that? Subjective, I know, but
Absolutely subjective. I just couldn't tell. It depends on how, like, if you've known the family for a while, if you have, how much differences there are, how much is there to get to know.
Hmm.
Like, if you're from the same community, gone to the same high school, studied in the same college, your families know each other, maybe not too much.
Mhm.
If you are someone that approaches marriage as, Naseeb, this is Naseeb, there's adjustments in any relationship, we don't have to check every box. Fine, we'll adjust to whatever comes.
Comes along.
It's just there's just so many variations. I couldn't give you a number.
Mm. And I'm sure you've seen the whole gamut of the tensions that arise, right? When trying to select a spouse. What about an ideal situation, a supportive parental role? What does that look like?
What it looks like is, first of all, there has to be a very clear understanding that it's the children that are going to be married, and
Mm-hmm.
it's them that have to be okay with any compromises or any adjustments. They have to be 100% on board,
Mm-hmm.
because if the parents are more invested in any particular rishta, then it's always going to be there is not that much accountability for the children themselves. Let's suppose if somebody is forcing their daughter to get married, not forcing meaning pushing, maybe
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that no, you know what, dismissing her concerns and being like, no, you should, this is fine, we've looked it through. Then there is always going to be a sense of, you pushed me into this, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't ready for this, I had these doubts. And not only is that room for that blame game, there is also there might be less of an effort it's just an easier scapegoating. It's just like, okay, I wasn't on board for this, so I am not. There might be some resentment that would hinder proper adjustment, or even making the compromises that she would otherwise make.
Mm-hmm.
So those type of kind of understanding that it is at the end of the day a relationship that your children are going to live with for the rest of their lives, inshallah. They're going to build a home with that, raise children, face a lot of challenges. They need to be in the driving seat for that.
Mhm.
So you offer them advice, you explain to them the nuances, and from the children's perspective, definitely listen to your parents, definitely learn from their wisdom. They might begin with saying, do this, or they might begin with saying, we didn't do this, but you should do this.
Uh-huh.
There might be, listen to anybody, like be open to learning. Listen to anyone who's willing to give you advice, but sift through it, sort
Mhm.
through it.
Mhm.
You can, I'm a therapist, and I see clients all the time. Like for the last 10 years, I've been seeing clients. There is not a single client that I haven't learned from.
Mhm.
I'm always learning something, even though they come to me for guidance and advice in their particular step. But there's something about each one of them that tells me, wait, this is unique. This is something I could learn from.
Mhm.
So for children, learn from what your parents are sharing. And for parents, at the end of the day, let them own it. Let them own the decision. Give them advice. Absolutely share your guidance. But it's their decision.
This is such an important point because what you're saying is then एक वो blame game जैसे आप कह रही हैं ना वो शुरू हो जाती है कि this was not my choice, I did
Mhm.
it for you, and now see, this is exactly what happened.
Right, right.
And that then you end up with so many lives being ruined
Yes.
when that happens. So, when families are divided over a potential match, what kind of tools or sessions do you offer to help them to navigate these conflicts?
One of a unique program I would say that I have kind of customized for our community is to conduct a group
Hmm.
with children of marriageable age and parents of marriageable age.
Okay.
So basically, let's suppose, one parent and one child, and that combination, or it could be two parents. That's not a hard rule, but I think one parent can represent the parental perspective and
Hmm.
one child. And let's suppose in that group there are eight sets of parent and children,
Okay.
and within that set, I have a curriculum on discussions, for example, gender roles, extended family, what these things, factors to be considered during spouse selection.
Hmm.
And each week, the sessions would be like 1.5 hours. This group sits together. I do some psychoeducation in terms of speaking about the relevance and the importance of each topic on that week. And then we have an open discussion within which the youth speak about their perspective on things and the parents speak on about their perspective. The beauty of that is that sometimes over a period of years between the parent and child, there might be dynamics which hinder them from taking even good advice from each other
Mm.
or good feedback from each other.
Hmm.
Maybe there's some dynamic that hasn't been healthy, which makes them reject everything the parent says or the parent dismiss anything that the child says. But when they hear the same thing from somebody else's child, they are more likely to take notice. And when the child hears it from some other parent, they are more likely to be like, okay, wait, this isn't just my parent saying this. So the group dynamic works. And then there is more of a open discussion, which doesn't come through as badtamizi or talking back or arguing or being adamant. It comes through because everyone is treating each other with adults and there is a decorum and there are other people.
Hmm.
You tend to have more grounded and more reasonable logical discussions as opposed to that being some emotional trigger within a family. And
And
go ahead.
so does this workshop take place before there is a potential spouse identified, or while they're still looking for somebody?
It could be a combination of both.
Okay.
So they could be thinking about, I think this would be something if anyone is looking to get married in the next 4 years, or if anyone is looking to get their child married in the next 4 years.
Hmm.
This is a good time to have a discussion about, wait, what are you going to look for? Like,
Okay.
what are the type of things that you're looking for in a spouse, and taking that advice from parents. And it could be while you're looking for someone, whether
Hmm.
that person would be a good fit considering these discussions. It could be either. But the moment it's like, you hit an age where you're considering getting married, these are important discussions to have.
I think one of the biggest bones of contention
Mhm.
between parents and kids is I'm not ready to meet somebody right now, or I'm
Mhm.
not ready to get married. And you hear this from kids all the time. And
Yes.
it could be that they're even in their late 20s, but they're like, no, we're not ready to meet anybody.
Mhm.
And the parents are very frustrated because they're like, oh my God, everybody eligible whom we know is just going to get married. How do you deal with something like this?
I think the fact that they are saying I'm not ready comes from a place of everything that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The mystery of how do you get ready? Where's the manual for that? What is step 1 and step 2? Like, are you just suddenly supposed to grow up and be like, okay, I'm 21 or I'm 22, I'm supposed to be ready for marriage?
Mm-hmm.
So what are you supposed to be ready for? What does marriage involve? Like, so these group sessions or these consultations, or even individually, if somebody comes in for therapy, they talk about, okay, what does marriage look for you, mean for you?
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking for? What are your life goals? So when you go through this process and the process of getting married is demystified, or looking for a spouse is demystified, then you're more likely to even know whether you're ready or not. How do you know if you're ready or not?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you explore all aspects of what does it mean to have a partner in my life.
Right.
So I think that not ready part, even that's something that that's part of the discussion, because that will give you a timeline with the parents
Mm-hmm.
as to, okay, I'm not ready now, but when I'm ready, this is what I'm looking for.
I see. So, do you find it better working with the individual or working with families?
So it depends. We can begin working with families, but
Mm-hmm.
then if we get stuck, if we come across some issues, and again, it depends individually. Like, if someone feels like I need to process through this individually in
Mm-hmm.
therapy, I need to figure out what I want to say to my parents, then you work it out in individual therapy, then get the family in.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a family decision to come into therapy and figure things out, and then someone says something which comes up as, okay, that's a red flag, I want to speak to you alone, my mom said that, but I'm worried about this, can be, how do I bring this up to my mom? Or the parent says, my son's thinking like this or my daughter's thinking like this, how do I bring up? So we have a separate discussion about that. We could have a different session with that.
Okay, okay, got it. What about when conflict arises during this courtship process?
Mhm.
What are some ways to navigate this during the courtship process?
Yeah, and that is a difficult thing, because you're not married, so you're still in the stage where you're not being very open, and you're kind of nervous about speaking about everything. Even in that stage, I think learning of the communication skills is important. Even
Mm-hmm.
individually, if everyone just goes into therapy or goes to the therapist to learn how to communicate with each other, a lot of the problems, it'll be easier to communicate about the issues that you're conflicting about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the issues are deal breakers, like they're absolutely something that you cannot live with. Let's suppose somebody has a dream of having, a full house, 6 children, and the other person is like, I don't ever want to have kids. That's just not something that you could
Right.
work through.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, other than those kind of issues, if it's a workable solution, then you can talk about it. I do want to caution young people, though. This is, sometimes I get a little not frustrated, but I get a little bowled over by these, when people talk about hypothetical issues,
Mm-hmm.
and they worry about it, and they fight over situations that may never arise.
Mm.
Like, what if I break a leg?
Okay.
How are you going to take care of
Uh-huh.
me, and how are you going to take care of me, and it's like, wait, marriage is hard as it is, and you will figure it out. You want to be close to each other,
Mm-hmm.
help each other, give each other the support and love, and then those things will come gradually.
Sort
Like,
out.
it's you cannot have everything in detail, every little box checked out. There
Mm-hmm.
has to be more than that. How what they say about controlling people?
Mm-hmm.
They say controlling people are the ones who are most anxious about not being able to manage if things didn't happen how they planned it.
Mhm.
So it's not that they want to, they're perfectionists, it's that they are afraid of they're afraid that they have the inability to handle things if things didn't work out perfectly. So similarly, if we'd rather focus on our ability to adjust and accommodate and compromise and work through issues, then that's a better angle to work with. Then I want to make sure that you and I are completely on the same page about everything that we are going to face, because that's not possible.
It's absolutely not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Life's
Yeah.
going to throw curveballs at you.
That's what life is all about. One of the big issues, especially what I've seen amongst our kids' generation, is chemistry versus compatibility. Shed some light on this, please.
Okay, so good question, excellent question. Chemistry, the Gottman, who are quite gurus in the field of couples therapy, describe something called limerence. So limerence is this feeling, this feeling of intoxicating romantic connection, this obsessive thinking about someone that, I can't sleep, I can't eat, I'm thinking about this person. This is an emotional high that people feel when they're around someone or when they love at first sight, these kind of things. So that feeling of overwhelming love and overwhelming connection, which is also, it also comes from the polyvagal theory of, our brain heart is connected to a feeling of safety.
Mhm.
So if we feel safe with someone, there's oxytocin, there's dopamine hits, and you feel perfect, you feel wonderful in yourself. And that feeling makes you feel like, okay, this is my soulmate, this is my connection, and this is how I feel with this person, and I just want to spend the rest of my life with them, which is amazing, which is beautiful, which is an aspect of love that I hope, inshallah, everyone experiences and has in their life. But it's not a permanent state.
Mhm.
You will not be in that state of feeling towards the other person forever. If you that generally, I don't want to set a time margin on that, but that's just, the initial stages of romance. And maybe you have spurts of it throughout your life, off and on. So that is good to begin with. It's important, it's good to have that interaction, to have that reaction to someone. That's the chemical attraction. But if without the compatibility, without alignment of core values, life vision, and conflict management styles and emotional safety, without having all of those in place, if you rely just on the chemistry, that won't last.
Mhm.
So the ideal situation is that, yes, of course, you feel some level of attraction and connection with someone, you feel safe. At the same time, you build on the core value system. So let's, if you like someone, if you just are feeling that attraction, if you just feel like, okay, there's the statements people say, like, I really love her or I really love him, but I don't like their personality.
Mm.
that that's
Red
that's a red
flag.
flag.
Yeah.
Like, you need to like them too.
Mhm.
You need to like the kind of person they are.
Right.
So there has to be the core, the value system. You must like the person and how they conduct themselves and how they uphold their values, and with what is your goal.
Mhm.
Your goal could be anything. That's up to you. You could have the goal to be the power couple. You could have the goal to own the biggest mansion in Dallas. You could have the goal to be like really religious and constantly be into community service. Whatever it is, are your goals aligning with, could you achieve that goal with this person?
Mhm.
Are there, like, is one person totally going after designer stuff and the other person's like just, uh,
More down to earth.
completely different? Those kind
Yeah.
of disparities, like complete utter disparities, are going to be a problem, even though you will not be an exact clone of each other.
Mhm.
But you have to know what are the areas that you could compromise on. So everybody needs to, basically, marriage is a set of compromise that you'll make with someone. It also has, it's not all a set of compromise, but it'll always have one box of compromises.
Mhm.
And you want to know which compromises you're willing to choose.
Right.
So this is the area where I can compromise on. And if that works, okay, you know what? Okay, this is something that it's okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with this. This adds more variety. One person likes to read and be home, one likes to be adventurous. Okay, you'll bring out a little bit of the best in each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. But if it's like absolutely the opposite, that's a deal breaker, then the limerence, the attraction will wear off.
Yeah. And then what? Then
And then what?
reality hits.
Right. And so the compatibility you have with your friends,
Mm.
that's the kind of comfort and compatibility you want in your partner as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because beyond the beauty and beyond all those attractions, what really lasts is friendship and compatibility and the willingness to compromise for each other.
I've often seen, Seba, that for kids,
Mhm.
compatibility, of course, chemistry is very important, but compatibility is a very big factor.
Yeah.
But for parents,
Mhm.
they don't even take that into consideration. They see the family background, they see the education level, they see the financial,
Status matching and all that.
stability
Yeah.
and all that. लेकिन वो जो compatibility वो तो consider भी नहीं करते.
I think the reason for that, Aisha, is that if you look back at some of the marriages in the past, like I know some uncles and aunts, like just looking at them like distant relatives, I'm like, who thought it would be a good idea for these two to get married? Like there'd be
Yeah,
nothing in common with them.
right.
But they come from a place of you get married to a person for better or for worse, you put up with it. You it's not, the lack of compatibility is not going to break the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
They'll manage to somehow live with that. They'll adjust, they'll accommodate. They're not going into the relationship expecting it to be very good.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's manageable, as long as, remember how people have react to divorce, like, does he beat you? Is he having an affair? Is she having an affair? Like, as long as these things aren't the problem,
Yeah.
what's the problem in staying in the marriage? That's the
Mm-hmm.
kind of cap that used to be, and that was because there was economical dependence on each other. There was social stigma attached to getting divorced. That's not the case right now.
Mm-hmm.
People are seeking more than that in their relationships. And if things don't work out, they're not compatible, they're looking, it's easier to get divorced or find independence within yourself, to live independently of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to make that set of compromises. But for that generation, it's like, of course, like, so what? So what? I'm not like that. Your uncle's so different from your aunt. Like, what's the big deal in that?
Mm.
So they're applying that principle, not knowing that the terrain, the landscape's changed very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a big thing. On the other hand, I've also seen when, with my friends, they are suggesting potential spouses to their kids, and the kids are like, no, we're just good friends,
Hmm.
and we don't want anything. We don't want to spend the rest of our life with this person as a
Hmm.
spouse. We're just friends. And a lot of my generation is struggling with this issue as far as their kids are concerned. Shed some light on that for us.
I mean, that is something, if they don't have that attraction, if they haven't thought of that person in that light, I don't know what to say to you, because they just probably just haven't. They've
Mm.
just, it's become so natural for them. It's become so, वो जो कहते हैं ना, घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर. It's become like, maybe this person coming from a distant relative, you're just hearing about them or knowing about them, would have a different reaction meeting them for the first time.
Mhm.
They're looking for that limerence. They're looking for that effect of, oh, really, the mystery of
That
getting to know
wow.
someone, that, wow, okay, oh, you like this, you don't like that. Like,
Mm.
just a getting to know part. And since they're already there, it's like, okay, what's the fun with living with this person? Where I agree with you that it's time tested. You like each other, you know each
Yeah.
other, that it makes sense to spend the rest of your life together because there's no surprises there.
Yes. Once the limerence goes, it's friendship, right?
That's true. The friendship's a good thing to base it on.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. All right. There you go. We got the two thumbs up. All right. We will take calls 972-501-9390 if you have any questions for Seba. Then this is the time to do that. 972-501-9390. You can contact Seba at 469-443-6773. She does workshops on many different topics: spouse selection, communication between teens and parents, blended family. That's our topic for next time. Empty nesters, and then women's wellness groups, people, women who are, just trying to find a good balance between work and home. Maybe they're empty nesters, maybe struggling with a lot of different issues midlife. This would be a great one to put together. You can check out saihbalitherapy.com, SAIHBAALI therapy.com, and Kame Hearts of Texas is her Insta handle. Seba, you have said that it is important to observe how someone handles stress, not just how they shine in good times. So, explain why this matters. And before you answer that, let's take a caller. Radio Azad, you're on the air.
Excellent program, Aisha and Saihba Ali Sahiba. What a wonderful program, mashallah.
Thank you.
मोस्ट वेलकम. मैं आपका एड सुनती हूँ, आपका जो प्रेजेंटेशन होता है रेडियो पर, इतनी अच्छी आवाज में आप नरमी के साथ और इतनी नॉलेज के साथ कन्वे करती कि उम्मीद जागती है सहबा. तो
बहुत शुक्रिया.
और डिफरेंट जनरेशंस में यही सिनेरियोस प्ले किए गए हैं. 41 years ago when I got married, when we got married, यही सिनेरियोस थे. जो पॉइंट्स आपने बात की ना, figuring who you are, open effective communication, different viewpoints, acculturation, and then accountability, blame game, guidance, conflict resolutions. मैं आपका पूरा प्रोग्राम फॉलो कर रही थी, और स्पेशली केमिस्ट्री वर्सेस compatibility. So different couples अभी भी मैं देखती हूँ जो different scenarios में fit हुए हैं and going through different kinds of experiences. और मेरे लिहाज से chemistry बहुत important है initial stage में. Compatibility जानने के लिए जरूरी है, मुलाकात तो जरूरी है. और क्योंकि उस टाइम पे मुलाकात को जरा सा बुरी नजर से माने उतना encourage नहीं किया जाता था, तो communication played a very important part in I'm talking about 1984 and earlier. मगर मैंने देखा कि जैसे कि एक किस्म का करिश्मा अंदाजा हो जाता है. This is a very workable relationship, और उसके बाद you work on it and find out whether you are compatible or not. और unfortunately क्या होता है कि पेरेंट्स जो हैं कई दफा बहुत अच्छे गाइडेंस टूल बनते हैं और अवेलेबल रहते हैं, और कई दफा ऐसा होता है कि वो लुक्स, स्टेटस, एजुकेशन, प्रोफेशन, जो बातें आप लोग कर रही थी ना, उन पे इनकरेज करते हैं, और बच्चे कुछ और आइडियल उनके दिमाग में रहता है. तो टुगेदरनेस के साथ इफेक्टिव कम्युनिकेशन जो आपने बोला, प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व होता है. एंड दिस इज अ लाइफ जर्नी, अप्स एंड डाउन्स होते हैं. मगर इतना अच्छा प्रोग्राम आपने किया. थैंक यू फॉर सच ग्रेट गाइडेंस.
थैंक यू सो मच. आपका मुझे नाम बताएं. आपने इतने अच्छे से सारे पॉइंट्स नोट किया. आई हैव टू नो योर नेम नाउ.
मेरा नाम है शहनाज खान फरूकी, SKF.
थैंक यू शहनाज. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर अप्रिशिएटिंग इट. आपने बहुत सही कहा है.
बिल्कुल. और मैं गुजरी हूँ ये सारी चीजों से, तो इसलिए इन ऑल जनरेशंस, and I totally vouch for all the wisdom you are sharing. Thank you, both of you.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, Kevji, thank you for calling in. Hawaii Jahaz se Radio Azad, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
जी, वालेकुम अस्सलाम.
आवाज आ रही है मेरी आशा?
आ रही है जी, शायद जी, बोलिए.
अच्छा, हाँ जी. नहीं, बहुत अच्छे. साहबा जी के भी पॉइंट अच्छे हैं, एंड देन जो शहनाज जी ने भी कहा वो भी. एंड देन मैं सिर्फ ये ऐड करना चाहूंगी कि जिस जमाने में हमारी शादी हुई या मेरी शादी हुई थी, तो वो जो जमाने थे उसमें लव तो होता नहीं था, ज्यादा अरेंज मैरिजेस होती थी. जस्ट किसी की अगर हुई अंडरस्टैंडिंग के साथ, दैट वाज वेरी रेयर. वो उसे अच्छी नजर से देखा भी नहीं जाता था. and we trusted our parents that okay, they will have, they will choose the best person for us because हमें क्योंकि ना किसी से मिलने जिलने दिया जाता था ना कुछ। तो मेरे ख्याल में चाहे वो जमाना हो या ये जमाना हो, अगर किसी भी मैरिज में या किसी कपल में रिस्पेक्ट और ट्रस्ट नहीं है तो वो आगे नहीं चलेगा। एंड लव तो आ जाएगा, स्पेशली अरेंज मैरिजेस में लव तो बाद में आता है, पहले रिस्पेक्ट एंड ट्रस्ट आता है। एंड देन आल्सो आजकल के बच्चों को भी और जो पहले वाले भी, उन्हें सबको ये चाहिए कि एक दूसरे से इतनी ज्यादा ओपन कम्युनिकेशन पहले मिले एक दूसरे से, एंड ट्राई टू फाइंड आउट कि अगर कोई फ्यूचर में प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं बच्चों के बारे में, अपने बारे में, हाउ वी आर कम्युनिकेट, हाउ वी आर गोइंग टू हैंडल आवर स्ट्रेसेस, हाउ वी आर गोइंग टू हैंडल आवर गुस्सा जो है, मतलब जब तक वो भी ओपन कम्युनिकेशन भी नहीं होगी कोई मैरिज जो सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो सकती। एंड देन आल्सो आई थिंक वी शुड बी वेरी ओपन टू आवर किड्स टू इनकरेज देम कि एज देम कि अगर कोई ऐसी सिचुएशन आ जाती है, तुम्हारा गुस्सा नहीं कंट्रोल होता है कुछ, एंड पुट द बाउंड्रीज फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग कि अगर इस बंदे ने मेरे साथ ये किया, हाथ उठाया या मुझे अब्यूज किया या इसने कोई मतलब मैं तो ट्रिपल ए कहती थी, लाइक अल्कोहल अब्यूज और adultery, put your things in front of that. बट हमें इतनी वो करेज ही नहीं दी जाती, हमें इतनी इजाजत ही नहीं दी गई थी कि हम इन चीजों पे कोई बात करते या मुलाकात करते या कुछ भी होता। वी learned by the time, as we live like one day at a time. और आई थिंक हमें अपने बच्चों को, चाहे वो बेटियां हों चाहे वो बेटे हों, उनको जब when they are looking for a partner, they are really looking for a partner. They are not looking for somebody who can support them financially or otherwise. They are looking for partner. We should encourage them कि ये सारी चीजें जो हैं ये इनकी लिस्ट बना लो and talk to each other and be open about each other. और अगर जब तुम्हें रेड फ्लैग नजर आते हैं, and also find out about their families also कि उनमें किस तरह का उन्होंने हैंडल किस तरह किया है। अगर उनके अब्यूसिव रिलेशनशिप्स हैं इन द फैमिली तो इट इज हार्ड टू ब्रेक डाउन द साइकिल्स। तो ये सारे रेड फ्लैग्स हमें जो हैं वो करके, और इसमें हमें अपने पेरेंट्स की, हमने जिनका इतना एक्सपीरियंस हो गया है, हमारे पेरेंट्स का एक्सपीरियंस नहीं था, बिकॉज उसमें भी और हमारे टाइम में भी यही था, जो आता है लड़की ने निभाना है, लड़की ने निभाना है, लड़की ने निभाना है। लेकिन अब आई थिंक हम लोगों को अपनी जो फ्यूचर जनरेशन है उनको ये जरूर बताना चाहिए कि नहीं, talk about these red flags, talk about those things, be
Good
open on
point.
that.
Shahida
So
ji,
these
good
are my
point.
2 cents,
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ji, different perspectives, absolutely. Just going back to the last question before we wrap up the show, let's talk a little bit about handling stress in the relationship, and I think it sort of ties back also to the last caller.
देखिए अच्छा, उसका तो ये होगा कि अगर हम प्री मैरिटल की बात कर रहे हैं तो it will depend on where you are on the spectrum in terms of how much you're interacting with your future partner. Like, if you have a lot of interactions, then you'll have more opportunities to observe the other person. If you have enough interaction कि आप liminal stage से निकल कर you're being real with each other, then you'll have more of a chance to observe how this person reacts to things not going their way. Parking नहीं मिल रही, how does this person react? Waiter ठीक से deal नहीं कर रहा है, is this person kind to the people he doesn't have to be kind to, or he or she? Like, I think it's a very big thing personally also for me, how people treat those that are in service to them.
बिल्कुल.
तो इस तरह की common चीजें, but I don't know if we have time. I wanted to use one example.
Please, go ahead.
To kind of bring home a point. कि जैसे, for example, I want to talk about how selection of the spouse and खुद को knowing yourself, everything ties into this. Let's suppose there's a boy, Adam. Let's call him Adam. He's 24 years old. He's looking to get married. ठीक है. His parents are first generation immigrants. His mother was a homemaker. He has 2 elder sisters who are both homemakers. Like they're educated, but they are staying at home, at least for now, raising children and all that. And they've had a traditional role, gender roles family.
ठीक है.
Adam has a cousin who's married to who's an attorney, and he's married to a doctor. This new couple that are both working, and they have children. They manage their children. They take care of them, partly at daycare, nannies, all of that.
Mhm.
And so Adam grows up, and he loves this couple. He idealizes them. That's the kind of life he wants. He wants to have a partner who is equal,
Mhm.
who works. They both work, and he likes the fact that they're able to go on trips. They have that two-income family affluence. They are truly partners in that sense. Like,
Mhm.
they share everything. So Adam comes to his family and says, I want to get married to a lawyer. I want a professional wife. I want someone who's working outside of home, not a homemaker. So now the parents may have reactions to that, because one, एक तो slight defensiveness आती है. A mom might feel like, wait, what I did wasn't good enough. Like there are these undertones that you think me being a homemaker mom wasn't that great for you. Secondly, ये है कि first step is in Adam understanding where he's coming from.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That's good. You want to have a life like that. That's a great thing. But do you realize that all your life, your mom's picked up your shoes, put them in place. You've had food served on the table, on your plate, heated by your sisters. You've had that lifestyle. You've watched your father come home, and your mom make sure that the dinner's on the table heated, and your father comes and sits. That behavior, those gender norms have been modeled to you all your life.
Mhm.
And what you're talking about is completely changing that in your life. Great. You're talking the talk. Are you able to walk the walk?
Interesting.
Will you actually be able to do that? Let's suppose Adam's married, his wife's professional, they both come home. Adam comes home and he's like, okay, I'm this progressive man. We are going to have different gender roles. We are both taking care of the house. He cleans up the kitchen. He does all this work. And his wife comes home from work and he's expecting a pat on the back.
Mm.
In his mind, he's thinking, look at how much I'm helping my wife.
Mhm.
Look at what I've done. And his wife's thinking, okay, let's leave his wife. Well, we don't have time for that right now. But he's thinking in his mind that he has defied all these model behavior. He's thinking, which is what I call like a negative qualification, that I'm not even expecting my wife to cook and put the food on the table for me.
Mhm.
I'm so good.
Mm.
I'm doing my wife a favor by helping her out with the house. But that's not what you signed up for.
Right.
You signed up to equally do that. So you're not doing it for your wife, you're doing it for your home.
Mhm.
Are you able to have that mindset? Are you able to follow through on that? Because if you're not, then you're buying into the romance of an idea, but you're not going to follow through on it the way that you're supposed to, because it was never modeled to you. And you need to consciously be able to be aware of that and fight that urge.
Interesting. But I want to know the wife's perspective also.
Okay. Okay. So let's suppose the wife is someone which is more likely whose mother was a professional,
Mhm.
right? Because if she's a high achiever, more likely than not, it's also modeled for her, right?
Mhm.
So, or it can be the other way. I'm not trying to say it would be. So she has watched her father help her mom. Or maybe her father was this person
Mhm.
who helped around the house, just
Mhm.
as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So what her husband's doing right now is something she expects from him.
Normal. Mm.
It's normal. While I would say she should also understand that he's coming from a household where he was taken care of by his elder sisters and his mom, and he has had a kind of lifestyle where he's taken care of. And maybe he will have some expectation or hold some resentment if that's not something that he has in his life.
Right.
So she comes home and she's not even giving him the reward that he wants or the praise that he wants for that.
Mm.
She's assuming that that's perfectly
That's
fine. She
normal.
needs to understand that this is big for him.
Mhm.
So if they both understand, if he understands where he's coming from, and she understands how much of an effort it is for him to do that, and she commends him a little, she gives him a little bit of that recognition, not to the point where it is enabling him to keep feeling that way, but at the same time recognizing the effort. And he's able to see that I'm not doing her a favor. This is what I do for the home. This is what I signed up for.
Mm.
Having that awareness, I'm not saying Adam shouldn't want that, but I'm saying Adam should be aware.
Right.
This is
That's
what it
part of
takes.
it. Goodness, what a great example that
Yeah.
is, and puts it into so much perspective. And really, we have this gem in our community. Take advantage of everything that is offered. And that's why I think these workshops are very important, because something that, like you said, somebody else is going through in their family, and they bring up that point. Maybe you don't want to offend your parents and bring it up. Somebody else may be bringing it up, and it just puts things into perspective, and gives you that aha moment, maybe for you or maybe for your parents. And ultimately, as Seba said, it is the decision of the couple. They have to go through this marriage, and they have to live with each other. So ultimately, it needs to be their choice. And I think the sooner that parents realize this, it is a collaborative decision. Input is very important, but it has to be communicated in the proper way. Seba's number, 469-443-6773, is the number that you can get in touch with her. And her website is saibaalitherapy.com. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just one quick note. In these group sessions, these are all the members do sign a confidentiality agreement.
Mm.
So the discussions in this group are confidential. I mean, obviously not as confidential as just individual, but there is supposed to be a decorum where people do not share what happens in a group outside.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that is a wrap for us today. Wonderful, wonderful segment. I think we
Thank you,
all
Aisha.
walked away with so much insight. And thank you.